Louise chuckled as she signed the credit slip. She said as put her card away in her purse, "I'm sure he'll be extremely happy once he gets used to the idea. As I told you over the phone when I made the reservation, all he'd really mastered in life was sleeping, eating, soiling his undies and hitting up women. The only reason Roland worked was to provide an excuse to get out of the house so he find women. Since I'll be nursing him a minimum of 5 times a day, he won't have to do anything but play with his toys, crawl at mommy's feet, nurse, make messes in his didies and sleep. It's the perfect job assignment for him. The only real change for him will be that he'll be under my watchful eye every minute of the day when he's not at the daycare center. His toys will be less expensive, but I'll make sure that there's more of them so he won't lose interest. If he makes a mess in his didies, well, that's what disposable diapers were made for. I'll see that he'll stays squeaky clean and sweet-smelling unlike his old, odoriferous adult self. He'll be loved, pampered and adored like any infant. As for forcing him to crawl at my feet, well, that's his punishment for being unfaithful. At least this way, I'll know he isn't running around on me. He's not old enough to walk yet and never will be. From what you've told me about the regression process, he'll lose his vocabulary over the next 2 days and will only be able to think like a toddler. Once that happens, he won't even be able to think about rebelling against my authority. I don't foresee any problems with him. He'll be my contented baby forever." Maurice nodded and said in farewell as her courteously pulled back her chair for her. Wisely is it written in the Holy Quran that, when Allah has determined a man's doom, he causes his needs to draw him to the place where his fate will become known. May I extend to you the wishes of all of Lauda's staff that you and your baby find the happiness that you have been seeking, madam. Thank you, Maurice, I'm positive we will, Louise answered as she put the strap off the diaper bag on the shoulder opposite the one where Roly rested. She patted him on his blanket-wrapped and diaper-covered bottom, inducing him to unconsciously utter the satisfied coo of a contented infant as she continued, "I know that I have what I've always wanted and after a fashion, so has Roly. He'll always have a woman looking after his every need and won't have a responsibility in the world. No man ever had a job that was more suited to him. While his transformation will require that he'll have to sacrifice some of his mental abilities, their very absence will preclude his missing them. As for his feelings, he was an emotional infant anyway. I know that the number of pleasures he can experience will be fewer in number, but they'll be much more intense now that he's a baby. I'm sure that both he and I are going to have a ball in our new roles with me as his mother and him as my baby boy. I think the change will suit him well." Louise chuckled in anticipation of her ex-husband's coming humiliation when she told Maurice, "I can't wait to call my friend Dinah over to my house to see what he's become. I'll let him crawl around at our feet while we discuss the contract for his care at Dinah's daycare center. Even with a 2-year-old's vocabulary, he should be able to understand that mommy is making arrangements for him to spend his days with other babies just like him. I know that forcing him to crawl around the floor of the daycare and interact with babies his age will complete his final transformation back to complete babyhood. Within a month, he'll be a baby in both mind and body.